Hello and good evening, pro wrestling fans. JC Gethiker here with Wax Poetic Pro Wrestling, and this is the second edition of All Things All Elite, my weekly review in all things AEW. So, we are coming out of here. Last week we were coming out of World's End, which I did a review for, and going into Dynamite on Wednesday night. There was a lot of questions about, what direction the show would be going. There was a lot of people that left the company. A lot of monumental angles that happened at the pay-per-view that obviously they would be following up with here in the new year. First things first, we have a new AEW World Champion in Samoa Joe. So that's, obviously the biggest news coming out of the pay-per-view. And when Dynamite started this last week, they wasted little time in letting the champ speak. So Dynamite opens with a huge promo with Samoa Joe. Basically laying out how his reign's going to go and what he would be doing moving forward as champion and trying to bring the AEW title to the next level. And obviously writing off Max and, like I said, just putting it out there that he's the baddest motherfucker walking, and anybody wants to step to him, they're more than willing, or he's more than willing to accept any and all challengers, and he's ready. So obviously this is a far cry from MJF being champion. It was a lot more sports entertainery type of a reign. Obviously he had great matches, when they put him on pay-per-view, or, when he had some type of a match on television. But, Samoa Joe being champion is going to be a completely different thing. Him as a 41 or 40-some-year-old man, now in the prime of his career, he's good at everything now. Him being a champion as an older wrestler is going to be a lot different, and it should be pretty fruitful, I would think, for AEW. A lot of interesting matchups out there for him. A lot of people to step up to the plate here and give him a run for his money, so to speak. So, but obviously moving forward, that's what's going on, obviously. So after the Samoa Joe promo, to set the tone here for this first Dynamite of 2024, the actual program in the arena opens with Adam Cole, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, and Roderick Strong coming out as a new group called, you guessed it, the Undisputed Kingdom, which I actually called on my World's End review last week. It's just a simple name. Obviously, it's taking the two ideas, the Undisputed Era and the Kingdom, and combining them obviously makes perfect sense. Like I said, Adam Cole being the devil was an obvious choice and the right choice, just as much as the Undisputed Kingdom is the right name for the group. So they come out, and obviously to start here, and the whole thing with them coming into the ring and Adam Cole sitting on the chair delivering the promo with the rest of the Undisputed Kingdom behind him is actually perfect. I heard this somewhere else, and I would agree with this. It's rather unique, him sitting in the chair, and he's going to be sitting in the chair for quite a while, so we might as well get used to that style of promo. So they come out, say their intentions. Cole announces that Wardlow will be going for the AEW World Title. Roderick Strong will be going for the international title of Orange Cassidy, and obviously the Kingdom were already the Ring of Honor tag team champions at this point. Obviously, the one really interesting thing that he said here was when Wardlow wins the AEW title, he would be handing it over to Adam Cole. So obviously, that was a reason for pause there that he would obviously say that. Wardlow had kind of a puzzled look on his face during this whole thing. So obviously down the road, that's going to come to a head. I don't foresee Wardlow handing a belt over if he does win the belt. So yeah, I don't see that happening. So they're already planting the seeds for some dissension here down the road. But surprisingly, well, not really surprisingly, but just given AEW's history on not following up on stuff, they did follow up on things with the devil storyline. They attacked a bunch of people leading up to the reveal. The first people that they attacked, or first person they attacked, was Jay White. So Jay White comes out, says he wants a piece of them because he's not going to be collateral damage to their little schemes. So he comes out with the Gun Club and they rush the ring. So this kind of felt like what they should be doing. Say what you will about WWE and their style. But the one thing I do notice with WWE is they're aggressive with like the new matchups and aggressive with pairing up different people at different times, and they definitely try to go in the strongest direction for business. And it seems like this is what AEW is now trying to do. They're not necessarily changing their product in the ring. They're trying to change their approach to how they push wrestlers and performers, and that's like it seems like over the last 5 years they've been very conservative about pulling the trigger on a lot of moves and a lot of matches, and maybe trying to push that next guy to that next level. They're doing it, but sometimes it's a little slow. The storytelling is a little bit slow. They're trying to speed things up to, keep people interested. So, anyways, they rush the ring. Undisputed Era jumps out of the ring, and then they come back in the ring and they start beating down the Bullet Club. And wouldn't you guess it? The Acclaimed and Billy, Daddy Ass come out and make the save. And that's kind of what I'm getting at here is like we've got 3 different factions all kind of involved here. 2 of the factions have already been at each other's throats in the Acclaimed and Bullet Club Gold. And they're actually in the ring now, looking at each other, saying, well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, even though they were our enemy too. But at this exact moment, there's a quasi allegiance, but there's some uneasiness there. So obviously they're setting that up. They're kind of making it so Undisputed Kingdom is gonna stand out as the top heel group, the heel group that all the other heel groups are trying to actually knock down as well. So that was actually a very exciting start to Dynamite. I think it's exactly what they needed. So, and obviously, Undisputed Kingdom before this ran down Max, and obviously it's going to be a long time before he comes back, but there's a long road there. Recovering from the injury, and then there's the long road of when he comes back, of going through all the members of the Undisputed Kingdom before he gets to Adam Cole. So, I mean, there's a lot on the plate here, a lot of things that they can do moving forward. The key here is to what they did today, or did in this episode, was made it so that there's other things that they can be doing, other feuds that they could be having, other angles that they could be doing before MJF actually comes back. But obviously they planted those seeds. So next up at this point, we did have the AEW International title match, Orange Cassidy and Dante Martin. Obviously, this is a showcase for Dante to continue his development here. Obviously, they want Dante still doing high-flying moves, but maybe just not the volume of high-flying stuff that he was doing before. That is one thing that Orange Cassidy actually is very good at, is he's a smaller, high-flying wrestler who knows how to work a good match, build up excitement. He doesn't have to do a million flips to get people excited necessarily. He can do that if he wanted to, but he doesn't need that. But I see, like I said, there's an influence there with Orange Cassidy, and obviously also it seems like his style is kind of evolving into like a Will Ospreay style way of wrestling, which Will Ospreay obviously had to do himself to make sure that he didn't get crippled for the rest of his career. So, but Orange Cassidy, he retains the title here, and it was a good match, but obviously Orange Cassidy moves on and continues to be the AEW International Champion. So we go backstage to Renee and Luther, and they she congratulates. I'm sorry, Timeless Tony Storm and Luther are being interviewed by Renee Paquette. She congratulates her on winning her match, and states that she is going to paint the town in New York, and she's getting out of this god-awful place of New Jersey, even though the girl who idolizes her, Mariah May, is having her first match in AEW. Obviously, she's Timeless Tony Storm, and she can't be bothered with any of that, darling. So obviously that's what happens there. And there is a quick video of the House of Black accepting the challenge of FTR, and it looks like we are getting this match for Collision. The Collision after this Dynamite, which happened this past Saturday. FTR versus the House of Black in Charlotte, which is FTR country. So that's going to be a hell of a match, obviously. So they're doing a good job here, at least building up excitement for some matches, a couple days down the road on Collision. At least doing some advertising ahead of time instead of, announcing it tomorrow on social media or something like that. Start, building excitement now. That it can't hurt, obviously. So kudos to them on that. The next thing we had was Swerve Strickland and Prince Nana in an interview with Renee Paquette as well. Nana, they're talking about the opponent for the evening, which they had announced earlier this week on social media, which would be Swerve Strickland, will be taking on Daniel Garcia. Kind of like a matchup of maybe the two hottest things going, or two of the hottest things going on right now in AEW, in Daniel Garcia and Swerve Strickland. So that is going to be obviously a very interesting match. And Swerve actually referenced a promo that Daniel Garcia had cut about wrestling Swerve, where he talked about big pressure and performing under pressure. And sort of told him it isn't about making diamonds. It's actually about making pain. Looking forward to going after MJF, but his body couldn't hold up. So he told Samoa Joe to stay ready. So obviously Samoa Joe is, a match that's going to happen sooner or later for Swerve. But in the meantime, this is a very interesting match that they've positioned into the main event, considering Swerve's popularity and Daniel Garcia's growing popularity. So this is a very good match, obviously, to look forward to here at the end of the program. So next up, we had Mariah May, and she defeated Queen Aminata. This was her debut. It was a good match, very hard hitting between these two ladies. Mariah May looks like a star. At the end of the match, they were interviewing Mariah May, and of course, she was running down New Jersey just like Toni Storm had done actually as well. And she is interrupted by a debuting Deonna Purrazzo, the centerpiece of TNA Women's Wrestling for many years, who is now in AEW. Deonna tells Mariah May that to tell Toni Storm that she's coming for her. And Mariah May had actually a really great line where you can tell her yourself, bitch. And of course they get into it there, and Deonna boots her in the face, and she exits the ring, and the crowd cheers, obviously, because she's from New Jersey, from that area. So good way to debut her. At the same time, I don't know, it was a little bit, disrespectful to Mariah's debut. But it seems as if they're bringing Deonna Purrazzo in to, looks like maybe challenge for the belt sometime soon, maybe the next pay-per-view here. Establish her as a big star right away. I don't see her winning the belt from Toni Storm. Toni Storm's just too popular right now. I'm not really sure about that, but we'll see how things go. So moving forward, so the next thing that happened was Christian's State of the Union address, where he comes out with Shayna and Nick Wayne and Killshot, and basically rubs it in that he toppled his former best friend, Adam Copeland, aka Edge. And he thanks everyone in his circle, Mother Wayne and his son, Nick Wayne, and Killshot is standing there behind, and he thinks he's gonna finally say something nice about him. Christian Cage say something nice about him, but when it comes right down to it, the last person he thanks, it was himself, and obviously they're laying the foundation for an eventual turn back to babyface by Killshot. But obviously, it might take a little while here for that to happen. So then we go back to Renee Paquette backstage with Ruby Soho, Carly Cameron, and Saraya. So Carly Cameron is really into her role, and she's dedicating herself to this group. And obviously she made herself useful last week on Rampage. So it's interesting where they could be going with this. I'm not really sure, but obviously Harley Cameron's a star, and you want to try to get her on TV as much as possible at this point. So she does have a lot of charisma. Very good looking girl. Decent in the ring from what I understand. I haven't really seen her wrestle, but people say she's a pretty good wrestler actually. So, they got to at least keep her in the mix. This is a good way of doing that. So, okay, so the next thing down the line, Darby Allin versus Konosuke Takeshita. Oh my God. Like, what a fucking match this was. Very interesting matchup. You got the human crash test dummy, Darby Allin, versus quite possibly, at this point, one of the most pound for pound, most talented wrestlers in the world today, Takeshita. This was just an unbelievable match. I mean, I can't say enough about this match. Obviously, the runaway winner for match of the week on Dynamite. It was, as far as matches of the week, it was that, or it was FTR and House of Black on Collision. We'll get into that later, but this was just a spectacle to watch. I watched in awe. Top rope German from Takeshita, like just crazy stuff. But Takeshita beat the living snot out of Darby, and he won the match. It's about time they, really started pushing Takeshita here, because this guy is a can't miss, just a super talent. And once he gets more of the English language and he gets better promos, the sky's the limit. Even now, with just delivering his promos in Japanese, you can kind of guess what he's saying, and it's still effective in a way, even though he doesn't know English. And obviously, he, of course, has a mouthpiece as well, Don Callis. So, obviously, he beats Darby Allin in the match after giving him quite the severe beating. So after that, Renee Paquette is backstage, and the Don Callis family are celebrating backstage, and they don't like the fact that Sting and Darby Allin are 25-0 in tag matches with Darby Allin. So they issue a challenge to Sting and Darby Allin for next week on Dynamite. Takeshita and Powerhouse Hobbs versus Sting and Darby Allin. Wow. That's going to be something else. I don't know how Darby Allin and Sting are going to win that match. I mean, it seems like the odds are pretty long against Takeshita and Hobbs. I mean, those two are just beasts, man. So, should be interesting to see where they go with this. If there's some type of outside interference, maybe some help for Darby and Sting next week, possibly from somewhere else. So, I mean, that's all I can think at this point, because I just don't see them beating Hobbs and Takeshita, nor do I think they should beat them cleanly. That would be horrible for Takeshita and Hobbs' characters. So, in any event, so the next thing up we had was a four-way to decide who was going to get a shot at the Continental Triple Crown of Eddie Kingston. Trent Beretta beats Brian Cage, Vikingo, and the Bounty Hunter Brian Keith. This was a decent four-way match, pretty entertaining. And lo and behold, they give Beretta another win. I mean, it's weird, but Beretta is like, you can tell Tony Khan really likes Trent Beretta, which I do too. I mean, he's got a good moveset, he's got a good look, and he always delivers in the ring. You can count on him to go in there, plug him in to anybody, and he always has a decent match. So I understand why they do that with him. But at the same time, it's like, well, he's in a tag team. Like, they just kind of throw him in singles here and there. I guess they do that with Dax Harwood, too. But I'm just wondering if he'll ever lead to anything down the road for Trent. But it is nice to see Trent in a singles match here and there, because he does have quite a bit of talent outside of even the tag division. So, Eddie Kingston was on commentary, obviously. He added quite a bit to commentary. He did very good on that. And obviously, at the end of this, we're confirmed that the match will take place at Collision. So it'll be Beretta and Kingston on Collision. We'll get to that here down the road. So next thing we had Renee once again. Man, Renee's just, she's the glue that holds all this shit together, man. You gotta love it. So Renee's backstage again with Daddy Magic. And Adam Page walks in, and Page he's fired up, man. He's ready to like bust somebody's ass. So he walks in and he gets in Menard's face as well, just raring for a fight. So that was very interesting. Nothing actually happened between those two, but Page was like in Stone Cold mode, coming in like anybody wants it can get it, basically. So, and then he kind of just stormed off after that. So next thing we get is finally the main event of Swerve Strickland versus Daniel Garcia. This was a great main event, obviously. Just so nice to see these two in a main event. Obviously, Swerve deserved it, and Garcia, based on his performance and the crowd reactions, for the last month and a half, he deserves to be kind of like brought up to the next level. He needs to be brought along here to start ascending up the ladder a bit. So I think 2024 is going to be a huge year for both of these athletes. But Swerve Strickland gets the win here over Daniel Garcia. And actually, one thing we do have to note in this whole situation was the dance-off in the middle of the match. Prince Nana doing the swerve when drive dance, and Daniel Garcia doing his, Buffalo Shuffle, as I like to call it. Go Bills, go Bills, go Bills this weekend. Pittsburgh Steelers gonna kick their asses. So anyways, moving on. So they did the dance. Obviously, it's just had to happen. Obviously, you get the two hottest dances in the company. Both of them are in this match or involved in this match. So there had to be a dance off, obviously, in this whole situation. So flurry of moves at the end of this match, and Strickland finally gets the win with the house call and the JML driver. Post-match, Strickland and Garcia were about to shake hands, but Prince Nana hit Danny Garcia in the balls. So they're trying to keep Swerve as a heel here. They're not going to let him make any kind of a full face turn anytime soon here. At this point, he's a tweener at best. So at this point, they're in the ring and they're about to, lay out all their plans for Swerve to become the next AEW World Champion. And then out of the blue, Hangman Adam Page runs to the ring, cowboy shit mode, and him and Swerve go face to face, and they just start throwing blows. And security comes out, and they're pulling them apart. And so Swerve and Adam Page, it just seems like it'll never be over. That's going to be a huge rivalry in AEW probably for a very long time to come. Very shocking, actually, how everything went down there at the end. I really wasn't expecting Page to come out, although maybe I should have put two and two together there when he came in all hot to trot to open up a can on somebody with some cowboy shit earlier in that promo. So, but overall, this was a really excellent Dynamite. It was a lot different than most Dynamites. It was very straightforward, not a lot of goofiness on this show. Very sports based, which is seems like the vibe that they're gonna go for here going forward with Joe as champion. That's kind of the edict, the vibe going forward with AEW right now, with Joe as the world champion. They're trying to go, like I said, a little more no nonsense, focus on stories, have great matches, but keep the silliness to a minimum, I guess, is what I would say. I mean, a little bit of silliness here and there is, fine, obviously. But, and I think also that they seem like they're focusing a little more on certain people, newer people, and also trying to follow up on things and not leave storylines just hanging in the breeze. And also getting more aggressive about matching up people, which, like I said, is something that WWE does really well. When the fans in their minds start to think someone's hot or they should get more of a push, this is something that, especially under the Triple H regime, I feel that WWE does very well. It's right now is, let's not waste any time. Let's get people in big positions and see where they're at. So even tonight, Daniel Garcia losing that main event, he was in the main event regardless. So that in itself is very impressive. So, like I said, they are putting people in the positions to sink and swim. And more on that later when we talk about Collision. There's some things done on Collision moving towards this direction as well. So, like I said, overall, very exciting, good show. A lot of good wrestling on this show. A lot of good angles. All around, just a really good Dynamite. Very enjoyable, fun. I can't really say enough about this show. I am excited about AEW right now, considering how strong this show was. I feel like they're going in a positive direction, and if they're going to be adding a Mercedes Moné to this mix, and also a Will Ospreay here in the near future, it's very exciting where this product is going to be going here moving forward. So, but obviously, like I said, there's two big matchups set up for Collision, which we're going to get into later on in All Things All Elite. And obviously, they announced the Sting and Darby versus Takeshita and Hobbs for next week on Dynamite. So they're doing a good job as far as at least making sure that people are aware of the matches that are coming up in the future. So, but yeah, great Dynamite and very exciting for the future of All Elite Wrestling. I'm here for it, baby.